Human rights and the fifth estate.
Comunidad.
Daraja.
Smile.
Harambe.
Makar.
Righteousness.
Habla.
Human rights and the fifth estate.
So our ancestors, for hundreds of years, actually were there. So then, like 6, 7 years ago, we get a piece of paper that says it is our land, and now all of a sudden, the local town is giving us summonses because they don't feel that we can pray.
The practice of prayer was common in Lenape territory before the European colonizers came. Lenape land spanned from Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. In Mahwah, New Jersey, the Ramapough Lenape owned land called the Split Rock Sweetwater Prayer Camp.
Most things are being renewed in the springtime.
The Ramapough Lenape are respected by many nations and the United Nations in powerful ceremonies on this land. Spiritual leader and singer Floyd Littleson is conducting a smaller spring prayer on the 15-acre Split Rock Prayer Camp.
When that moon in April, that first moon they saw was like indicating to the people that it was time to do a certain ceremony.
But across the road are wealthy homeowners who have pressured the township of Mahwah, New Jersey, to make the Ramapough leave the prayer camp for good. Dwayne Perry is the chief of the Ramapough Lenape.
We had good relationships with the leadership. The day after we put up a teepee to morally support Standing Rock, we have come under almost a daily onslaught of fines and complaints and etc. from the Polo Club. We've had people down here sling dog manure over on our property. We've had gunshots fired. We've had people ride by and yell racial slurs.
What kind of racial slurs?
Well, I've used the N-word a number of times. And why don't you people go home?
The local town, they really want to just get rid of us any way they can by the stroke of a pen, legally by, like I said, our ceremonial land, which our ancestors actually were there.
The Ramapough want to issue a warning for others facing similar issues. For more than 2 years, certain Polo Club homeowners and township officials have used every tactic to make the Ramapough lose their 15 acres of land from fines and zoning.
Why don't the law do what it's supposed to do? Just fine them?
We will start issuing summonses for violations. The zoning officer, Mr. Kelly, and myself will be discussing that tomorrow, and we would expect that summonses be issued on Monday.
They sent us over 100 citations, one to fine us hundreds of thousands of dollars in a virtually transparent attempt to take our land. And because we will not sell it or do what they want us to do, the way they want us to do it.
Along with the 2,700 summonses, there have been verbal assaults.
The people of Mahwah, they call us mountain niggers.
Has anybody been thrown in jail?
The Ramapough have been arrested.
We have been criminalized.
They wanted to throw myself and Chief Perry in jail.
Ironically, Stephen Dennison Smith, known as Owl, and Chief Perry live on ancestral land called Mahwah, a Lenape word which means meeting place.
Mahwah is a derivative of the term Aki Ende Mawe Long, the place where the people gather. It was a place where tribal people from around the East Coast and beyond would gather to powwow, to hammer out their differences and basically make peace treaties and etc.
But for some homeowners in Mahwah Township, meetings are to close the camp for good.
They asked me for assistance.
I'm on the record to state, I don't know how the other council members are, but if there is an event that does go on, I would hope that at this point they would be summoned, yes, for that event also.
Still, everywhere in Mahwah, there are words displaying ancient native history, from building names to street signs, and the Ramapough are often invited to local schools to share their heritage.
And I just wanted to point out that this school, East Ramapough High School, is named after the Ramapough Lenape Nation. So one more time, give a nice round of applause for the spirit of the Mount Children.
This land is special. It's a sacred land. So here in our sacred lands with the Ramapough Mountains and Ramapough River, this is where the Munsee traditionally resided, or one of the places we lived. And we are called keepers of the past. And this is the past that we keep. This is the past that we're guardians of. So in many respects, we are the guardians, even today, of New York and New Jersey. The main difference between Ramapough and, say, the community that we're in is the depth and length of our connection to this land. But we are part of the forest, the old forest that was here before Columbus.
I don't believe that the mainstream Mahwah, the general population in Mahwah, understands spirituality, understands honoring the ancestors, honoring the earth. If they did, they wouldn't treat the Ramapough, they wouldn't treat us the way that they do for wanting to take care of the earth, wanting to honor our ancestors, wanting to do exactly what the Creator put us here to do.
Yet certain members of the Wealthy Homeowners Association, who call themselves the Ramapough Hunt and Polo Club Association, refuse to believe the Ramapough people have ancestors there and belong in the area. That may be because many of the people who live in those grand houses across from the Sweetwater prayer camp are first-generation immigrants or are simply unaware of U.S. history.
Yeah, that's strange. I don't know what's going on.
On this day, someone made an anonymous complaint of a gas leak from the prayer camp. The police and fire departments were called in, some 30 vehicles. Responders fanned out. Nothing was found.
My name is Clara Soaringhawk Ashbrook. I am the Deer Clan chief of the Ramapough Lenape Nation. I want to affect positive change. You know, I do this, from my heart. Because everything, that I do, and I want it to count. I want it to count for our nation, our people, for our community. That is, what I don't ever want to do anything disrespectful.
Anashik Gichimanitu, Anashik Kishalamokwang, Elamiliang, Kokanaki, walk Kishuk, walk Nipahum, walk along way walk. Well, here in our center, we have photos of a number of our ancestors. We have a picture of my great-great-great-grandmother, Rebecca Van Dunk Morgan. These roads are actually built on the ancient roads that Ramapough used to use to get between different communities.
Al pays homage to his forefather of World War I, who was buried on ancestral land on Ramapough Mountain. Al comes from a line of servicemen. One, his father, is chief attorney for the Army, West Coast. Al himself is an environmental attorney.
So we're here at my grandfather Ira Smith's gravesite, and just going to lay down a prayer of thanks for my life and for his life and for life. Sheik Kakanaki, Sheik NB, Sheik Kishukan, Sheik Tindao, Sheik.
Alex Krutansky is a local businessman who met with Ramapough leaders. He says in spite of their brave contributions to the founding of this nation, the dominant society has left them behind.
I saw that the tribe was not in a economic state that they thought that I thought that they were in. They've just been abandoned. These Native Americans played a very important role in our nation's history, and really nobody knows about it.
During the 1700s, the Ramapough Lenape warriors helped General George Washington when he was just a captain and built a relationship to protect the Patriots.
As the history develops and the Revolutionary War starts, the Ramapough have an active military role fighting alongside the Revolutionary Army, to the point where the English troops had to walk through Pennsylvania to go to New England, which is a much longer walk. I don't know of any other community at the time that was doing anything like that.
Later,
they become a stop for the runaway slaves in the Underground Railroad. They become labeled because who would want out of the white community their white son dating a daughter from that community? So they became a lower class of people, and they received a label for it. And the label was that they were labeled as Jackson Whites.
Jackson Whites is a racial slur.
Mulattoes, essentially. And the term was used to take away from us our native heritage. And it's still used today. There's a lot of negative things that are carried by this term, such as it's popular belief that the quote-unquote Jackson Whites are all inbred and are albino and cannibals even.
Two Clouds of Ramapough heritage recalls a terrible confrontation with a first-generation neighbor who mistakenly thought he was trespassing onto his property.
So he says in a very nasty voice, very thick German accent, he says we're on his property. So I say, no, sir, you're on our property. We're not on your property. So he called me a piece of crap, but he didn't say crap. So I was, shocked. I turned to Mud Turtle, and then he turns to Mud Turtle, calls him the same thing, and he calls us dirty, stinking Indians and effing gypsies.
We have people walking in the woods. They come from anywhere, all walks of life. They're there, and we have to deal with it. There's going to be a confrontation because people, it's going to happen sooner or later. And because the people are getting so fed up with it now. And I don't want to see that happen at all.
So tell me what happened one night.
I was standing out here with my cousin, facing the river. We're laughing and joking. My back is facing this way, and my cousin was facing that way. Gunshot came from over here in the trees. The bullet hit a garbage can that was, about 40 or so feet away. And my cousin saw the muzzle flash come from over here.
Al, the environmental attorney, was also caught in the line of fire of the neighbors after he spotted a new security camera on Ramapough property.
One day I took a look at one of the cameras. I was examining it. So I turned the lens a couple of different directions, and then one of the cameras, the lens was left at 90 degrees. So I didn't think much about it. And, quite frankly, if it was 90 degrees, I didn't see any harm in it.
The Polo Club brought a complaint, and police charged him with a misdemeanor crime with jail time of up to 6 months.
It's kind of embarrassing. It really hurts that what it comes down to is that they don't want to be near us. We don't have any problems sharing the land with them. We don't want to go to their houses. But they somehow want to remove us from our property. We had a community actually on the side of that bridge In the 1920s, that was removed.
They've made a number of offers to buy the land. I think the land's valued somewhere in the neighborhood of $12 million. We've been offered up to $250, $250,000. Say that Mahwah has a long and trackable record, approvable record of manipulating zoning to affect the lives of people of color. The tribal people are probably the last of maybe the blue-collar people in general in the region. We also are the people that hold the last bit of really extremely expensive New York metropolitan land. We have been gentrified by these larger homes. They want us out.
You guys have the hammer. The township has the hammer.
Oh.
You went to court, you won one judgment for $13,000, and they haven't had to pay a penny.
The wealthy Ramapough Polo Club Homeowners Association says it has spent about $350,000 in its war against the Ramapough people's right to their prayer land. There have been false police reports, too.
What they said, we vandalized their signs.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so neatly done, it was amusing. Actually, we sat and laughed about it. Who does neat vandalism? But people had never seen vandalism, apparently. And then when we got done laughing about it, these same knuckleheads pressed charges. So I guess not only do they manipulate the police department, not only are they manipulating the town, apparently they're manipulating the law.
Someone from the Polo Club called police after people were given permission to charge their cell phones on a pole. And they filed a police report against a prayer camp member, accusing him of firing a shotgun.
Who knows what could have happened? He was back there 3 days this week, that same individual. We need him gone.
You're accusing people of using a gun, and you don't show up in church to camp? You come up with 13 police cars and a guy threatening to shoot people for charging their telephones, and you do not come to the camp and look for a weapon? Please.
Property on native land has been suspiciously damaged.
My name is Officer Vega, badge number 1133. They came to file a vandalism report.
Well, my thought was, well, we got
I gotta
people.
come here and take pictures of it. That's what investigation's for.
This is really a high-end Cabela tent, flagship tent. This is where it would have pulled apart from stress. This is very clearly a knife cut. Our initial thought was heavy snow, wind. But when we looked at it, we realized that didn't shred. That was slit. Usually we let it go. But since we have people engaged in fake vandalism, we thought we should show them what real vandalism is. Yeah. In this upstanding neighborhood, of course. Well, they destroyed their own signs and stuff and said we did it.
I do have nightmares because I can't trust these people. I honestly don't know if when I am on the land, if people, if they're not going to come and try and drag us out, you know, of the yurt or the tents. Or honestly, I wouldn't be that surprised if they would try to set something on fire. You know? I wouldn't put it past them at all.
The Ramapough have made many concessions that are against their religious rights and have removed all but essential prayer items to offset the threat of more fines. On this day, the community turned out to help the Ramapough remove structures that offended the Polo Club community. But it's never enough.
We've already been told that teepees are permanent structures, and we no longer can have a teepee without approval from them. They've also told us that our sweat lodge is a permanent structure that requires approval.
The stuff that's there is now gone. It does not remove our intent or our commitment to finish this as we committed to at the beginning. Absolutely 100%. This does not go away. How much clearer can I make myself?
No matter what it looks like in the now, in the end, if you believe, you get through it. I mean, that's very, very important to be able to share that. And it's just a wonderful feeling, you know, to be able to say a prayer, ground your prayer, stand behind it, you know, and then see the manifestation of that prayer.
And with that belief in prayer, the Ramapough's luck has changed. The Ramapough were re-recognized as a tribe by the state of New Jersey.
I think that there's an opportunity to work with this tribe to try to create what we see currently as a vision of what society should be like in the future.
Criminal charges against Chief Perry were dropped.
And I said, well, we're not going to do any business under duress.
And prosecutors dismissed the Polo Club's criminal complaint against attorney Stephen Smith. They tried to ruin his reputation for handling that security camera. But Owl's biggest concern is for the community.
The attitude of the Town of Mahwah and our neighbors in the community, which is called the Ramapough Hunt and Polo Club, is myopic. It's blind. I just find it highly ironic, all the ink that's been spilled on statutes, codes, regulations, ordinances. And we're in a situation now where not only Mahwah, but many other towns in New Jersey, but Mahwah has over 12 pollutants, many of which are carcinogenic. And they want to spend time talking about teepees? It's ridiculous. They have lost focus on the pipelines. They have lost focus on what's poisoning our water and are blinded by racism and greed, quite frankly. Regarding the Polo Club, they say that, some of them say that we are decreasing their property values. The truth of the matter is that any brown, black, or red person that comes into an area tends to elicit that kind of reaction. So I don't have much sympathy for that.
And finally, a Superior Court judge agreed that the Polo Club Association's case against the Ramapough people was unconstitutional. The case was dismissed, and their right to prey on their property was granted.
We were successful in that. Judge found in our defense that the opposition were in the wrong and they lost their position. We were successful in regaining basically unfettered use of our property. Had we lost, it really would have meant that just about anybody can infringe on your constitutional rights to prayer and to own land, which both are considered sacred by our Constitution.
The township agreed to drop the $1.5 million in excessive fines. For the Ramapough, the ancient tribal meaning of the word Mahwah, or meeting place for peace, is their goal.
We can live together in peace and harmony. I mean, there's no reason why we can't. We don't want their houses. We just want to be able to do our ceremonies and to honor the earth and the airs and the water. So that's where I see that we can go forward. If we can keep in mind that our water is being poisoned, that to me is the irony of the situation we find ourselves in today. Some of our neighbors are so focused on land issues and the fact that we're on the land, that they're losing sight of the fact that their very water, the water that they're giving to their children, is poisoned.
It's true. Those oil pipelines are extending throughout this and other communities.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the survey markers along here.
The Ramapough Lenape of New Jersey continue to pray that this bigger threat will bring together every community with all indigenous nations for the benefit of everyone's future.
We embrace everyone that comes there. And one of the reasons our prayer is in a circle is because we feel that everyone's prayer is of value. So we need everyone's prayers.
We need your help. We need your attention and involvement in matters that are going here. This is not a spectator sport. It could be as simple as writing a letter, even the embassies, even the government, letting them know that you're watching what's going on here. That would be important to us in terms of support going forward, because it's not just our rights that we're fighting for, it's your rights that we're fighting for as well.
The reason it was Sweetwater was because initially my ancestors were farmers, and they come from the lower Hudson Valley and of course over to the Ramapough, which is Sweetwater and farmland.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's Sweetwater?
Sweetwater, currently Sweetwater is what we are calling our prayer ceremonial lands. The reason Ramapough means sweet water is because the water was applicable for not just drinking, but for growing crops. Ramapough, as it's currently being used, would be how it was given to us as it's the slave spelling. The original spelling of Ramapough is how the school and the police station spell it, R-A-M-A-P-O. The reason for that was in the mid-1700s it was forbidden for my people to use a native language, native dress, or native ceremony, or they could be summarily executed on the spot. Ramapough is the clan. That would be the people all in one area. The band that are primarily loosely married, not married, but loosely related. Muncie means wolf, which is a band, which is a much larger segment, and there's a number of Muncie, there's thousands of Muncies. And then when you go beyond Muncie, the tribal entity itself is Lenape. So it's just three different sort of layers of being Native Americans. We're the Sweetwater people that belong to the Wolf Band, that belong to the Muncie, to the Lenape, and then Lenape, as in most Native American cultures, means the people.
The people.
So